Welcome back. We are continuing our live coverage of the royal visit, the very last day, and this is the very last stop on Grand Bahama. Now we're going to take you to Shashina Royal Farquharson very soon. I believe the plane actually has landed at Grand Bahama Airport, and we'll see what's on the agenda from our colleagues in the Northern Service. But before we go to Shashina, wonderful time at Abaco today.
I loved it, Julian. You did too. I could see that you were really fond of that. Have you got a history at all with Abaco?
Oh, I fortunately have a history with all of these islands in this country. So a great benefit of working for the Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes, indeed.
So
even though the Foreign Service took you far away.
It took me away. But Zednes brought me home.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I've been to every island except for Long Key, and I saw it from Crooked Island. So,
okay, good.
But I'll get there one day. Right. That's why this country is as beautiful as we say it is.
Yeah.
But the royal visit, as I said, is on the last leg, and I believe we are now ready to go to Shashina Royal Farquharson. Shashina. We're having an audio problem right now with Shashina. We should
looks lovely in blue.
Blue is definitely her color.
Yeah, yes. That's gorgeous.
Of course, you know, Grand Bahama too was hard hit.
Yes.
The eastern end, though, specifically, more than others.
Is that the part that gets hit every time there is a hurricane?
Well, you know, it's difficult to say with Grand Bahama, but this is the eastern
end.
The eastern end. McLean's Town, Sweetings,
yes.
Key areas like that, Deepwater Key, places like that. But
that was the hardest hit.
From what I understand, there were some areas like High Rock, of course.
Yes.
Some other areas closer to downtown Freeport that were hit as well.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Shashina now, who will have more information. Shashina.
Fly sector 4.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Julian, and good afternoon, Bahamas. We are coming to you live from the Grand Bahama International Airport, and this, of course, is the final stop on the Royal Tour. In just a few minutes, we are expected to see the Duke and Duchess as they are coming in on the national carrier. Already, if you can see behind me, you have a number of persons on the tarmac waiting on them and waiting on their arrival. A part of that receiving line, we have the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, the Minister for Social Services and Urban Development, the Honorable Obi Wilshcombe. We also have the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darble, Mr. Harcourt Brown, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, as well as the opposition leader, Michael Pintard, Senators Kirkland Russell, as well as Senator James Turner and Ms. Sarah St. George, Acting Chairman of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. It is indeed a buzz of activity here in Grand Bahama. Also leading this delegation, we have the Deputy Prime Minister, Chester Cooper, who is also here on the ground here in Grand Bahama, awaiting the arrival of the Duke and the Duchess. Now, outside of the gate, what you have is really and truly an amazing scene. I wish we had an opportunity to show it to you. We have scores of residents of Grand Bahama outside, hoping that once the Duke and Duchess passes, that they would have an opportunity to give a royal hail to the Duke and Duchess. And shortly after that, they will be heading to the Grand Bahama Resort for a short stint. Followed by that, they will go straight to the Grand Bahama Children's Home, where they are expecting to meet with the children and hear firsthand their recount of Hurricane Dorian. But of course, as you can see, it is a lot of smiles on the faces of persons here on Grand Bahama. We also have the lovely wife of the Deputy Prime Minister in this shot, this working shot right here. We have the opposition leader, Michael Pintard, as well as the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Kwesi Thompson, and just behind them is the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darble. All of them having a conversation. All of them have a great interest on the island of Grand Bahama. Michael Darble, also the former Minister for Grand Bahama, as well as Kwesi Thompson. So you have two former ministers of Grand Grand Bahama, conversing with the current minister for Grand Bahama in what we have deemed a very exciting time. It is a moment that we are hoping will uplift the spirit of many Grand Bahamians. It is no secret that the economy here has continued to struggle, especially post-Hurricane Dorian. Now, what is important to remember is that the Duke and Duchess have a keen interest when it comes to climate change. And so we know that their stop on Grand Bahama and Abaco today is very significant. It is significant because the plan is to carry the message back on the impact of climate change and what it has done to small island nations and small island countries like ours. Abaco and Grand Bahama continue to reel the impact of Hurricane Dorian. And so their first stop at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, the Duke and Duchess, they have made it very clear that what they want to hear will be coming from the words of our very own children, the children from the Children's Home who had to be evacuated during Hurricane Dorian and removed from their home, which is the Grand Bahama Children's Home, which has been a safe haven for many of them. And they would have had to relocate to New Providence. And so in just a few minutes, once again, the official tour will start. And we are expected to see the aircraft within view. And so in just a few minutes, Julian, we know that the Duke and Duchess will be arriving here on Grand Bahama. Back to you guys in studio.
All right. Thank you, Shashina, for setting the scene for us. And I was really interested to hear you say the words that this should be an uplifting thing for the people of Grand Bahama. Serena, we were talking about that, how this visit was obviously uplifting for the people of Abaco, and here we have my colleague now saying that Grand Bahamians are looking for that kind of upliftment as well. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think Toshina's right on the ball with that. I mean, both islands were hit badly by Hurricane Dorian, and rebuilding efforts are laborious and slow and difficult. And so I think I think they are looking forward to it. I think it is considered an uplifting situation, and people are going to enjoy it and make the most of it, and it'll make a change from everyday life.
And, you know, you don't want to compare suffering, right? But prior to Dorian, Abaco had a booming, thriving economy.
Yes.
Grand Bahama, not so much for several years.
That's true.
About 2004.
Yes.
Francis, I mean, things just started going downhill from then and have continued to dwindle.
Yes.
So they do need some
little lifting
hope.
Up. Yes, they do.
A light of hope to come their way.
Yes, they do.
And I, think this is a very opportune time for that to begin.
Well, it's nice to see also that Sarah St. George is going to be there from the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Is this their plane arriving, Julian?
I'm not certain, actually. It probably is.
I think it does look like the one that was in Abaco.
It doesn't look like the one was in Abaco to me. This is a jet. The other one, the one in Abaco, I believe, was an ATR. Is this an ATR? I think it is an ATR. It is, yes. Yeah, an ATR turboprop. That I believe is the actual jet that has the Royals on it. From behind, it looked like a jet.
So on there, you've got all those journalists again. So they'll be piling up.
Stories to tell.
Yes.
Stories to tell.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Good journalists will have multiple stories.
Yes. And a few of them will want to interview some of the key players, I expect, because I don't think...
Where time allows. Now, because don't forget their primary purpose.
That's true.
Yeah, where time allows. It's not always easy to do that.
No, but some of those journalists will want to speak to the Minister of Health and try and get a couple of stories.
Very short window they have today. I believe we are now going to go back to Grand Bahama. Not quite yet. But on your screens, there is the Bahamas Air ATR turbo aircraft making its way towards the terminal, or to the taxiing down to the tarmac. And
of course, they don't have to go through passport control or immigration or anything, so that speeds things up.
That's not applicable.
Just walk right through.
Not applicable to
So the Queen doesn't have a passport, you know.
I understand that, yes.
Because apparently the passport is the Queen's permission for us all to travel. So I mean...
Exactly. But I think she will be very proud of her grandson and his lovely wife on the work that they've done.
Yes.
And I may be a bit biased here because I am Bahamian and proud, but I also believe that this has been the most exciting and successful part of the entire tour.
Really? The most... You mean the Abaco Grand Bahama
I'm talking about
piece?
the Bahamas, period.
Oh, the Bahamas. Oh, for sure. Well, you know, as we said earlier, they saved the best till last. You know, they went to Belize and Jamaica, and now here they are in the Bahamas. And listen, in Glasgow, I remember the PM did say that he had invited Prince William to come to the 50th independence celebrations. So they obviously couldn't wait that long, and they've come early. They may also, of course, come to the 50th anniversary celebrations. So,
well, the plane is down, and the plane is down, and the actual delegation and receiving line is heading towards the aircraft.
Right. Getting
as
in
soon
position.
As they disembark, they will be there. And it's interesting to see the people that are actually there to be there.
It's a heavyweight crowd.
Of course, the Minister of Grand Bahama is there, as she should be. And I understand previous ministers of Grand Bahama are also there. Of course, the Minister for Social Services, right, who is the Member of Parliament for West End and Grand Bahama, is there as well, the Honourable Obi Wilshcombe. And he, of course, has been a real fighter for his island. Remember, in one of the hurricanes, he actually went to help and rescue people on a jet ski, which is just really quite valiant.
Yeah, very, yes.
Yeah. So, they're all there to greet the royals and to give their full support, and looking forward to a wonderful exchange.
I think it's going to be good.
And this is the plane right now. We missed that shot. That shot is going to come back up fairly soon. So if you stay tuned to your screens, you will see the royals. I wonder how people in Grand Bahama are feeling right now. I wonder if this is important to them. I wonder if this will actually give them the kind of upliftment they are looking for.
Well, I hope so. We could see that was the case in Abaco. So
definitely.
Let's hope they work their magic here too. But it also depends on anticipation. I mean, there are obviously a lot of excitement and anticipation in Abaco, hence the crowd. So we'll see here whether people are thrilled about the visit or not so much.
So support staff and journalists coming down the stairs there. Everyone's trying to get the right shot.
Yes, they want the shot of the day.
And, you know, I'm sure you know, because you were a photographer as well.
Yeah.
It can get a bit rough when you're trying to get photographs.
Oh, yes. It got very pushy last night at Bahama at the reception.
Yeah,
you know, you're standing there quietly with your little cell phone, and suddenly, as soon as they've got out of their arrival car, there's a crush.
If you're not very aggressive, you won't get the shot.
It's true.
Yeah, but, and of course, on the international market, the better the shot, the more money you make.
Yes.
I'm not sure, I don't know if you know, but I wonder, a good shot of any royal, but particularly William and Kate, how much do you think that would fetch?
What is your definition of good? Do you mean in focus?
Good as far as captivating. Something that people will remember.
Okay, so captivating is news. So, which probably is why they didn't dance. Because you can take a picture of someone dancing and get a rather strange angle.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So you cannot get into any kinds of those situations where they seldom eat actually, in front of photographers.
Because that could be a disaster too.
Yes, so they were careful today, I think. You don't want to be eating pork chop or wings with a photographer around, you know.
True.
Even souse or stewed fish can be tricky down the front.
Yes, yeah.
So you have to bear these things in mind, you know. And a good publicist would say to her client, stay away from these situations, you know. Be careful, what is the backdrop? I had a client once who went into a shop and the owner positioned him in front of the sexy lingerie. And I suddenly thought, just a minute.
Let us talk, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but let's toss it to our colleague in Grand Bahama who's on the ground, Shoshana.
Definitely the moment that Grand Bahama was indeed waiting for. The Bahamas Air flight has just landed just a few minutes ago, and who we are seeing now disembark are members of the media, officials who would have traveled with the delegation for the Duke and Duchess. We also see the Prime Minister's wife, the beautiful Anne-Marie Davis, also disembarking from that flight. Earlier, Her Excellency Ambassador Leslia Miller-Bryce was also on, and there you have it, the beautiful Duchess being presented with a bouquet of flowers. Presenting the bouquet of flowers is Callie Ferguson, a beautiful 4-year-old girl. She is the daughter of Rayvano Ferguson, and we saw her a few minutes earlier extremely excited about having the opportunity, and this memory, of course, lasting a lifetime. Now, the Duke and Duchess being received firstly by the Deputy Prime Minister, Chester Cooper, and moving alongside them, also the Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie. They are indeed having a word there for just a few minutes, and this is a scene that we would have seen on both Abaco and in New Providence once they would have disembarked. Just a warm embrace of the local officials on that island and our country's representatives. The Duke also being introduced to opposition leader Michael Pintard, Senator James Turner, Senator Kirkland Russell, former Minister for Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson, and Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson. And now we have some of the flag carrier staff also being introduced to the Duke. There you have it, the officer in charge of Grand Bahama, Theophilus Cunningham. And the Duchess also making her way down the receiving line. Pleasantries exchanged as always, and a warm embrace by the local team here on Grand Bahama. And of course, they are now being escorted straight to their vehicles. Outside the gates, we know that there are a number of residents, scores of residents, hoping to see them as they pass. We got a little smile from the Duke and the Duchess and a wave. Did you get that, Roger? My cameraman, we got a wave. There you have it. That certainly will make my day and make my year. We got a wave from the Duke and the Duchess, and very shortly they will be making their way to the Grand Lacan Resort for a very short stint. We know that they had an extremely long day between today and yesterday, and so after such a wonderful trip over on the island of Abaco, they are expected to make their first stop on the official tour at the Grand Bahama Children's Home. And we are just being asked to move back just a little bit. But of course, all of the Bahamian delegation, they're also making their way into their vehicles. We are just moving back a little bit and giving them their space as they exit the Grand Bahama International Airport. Again, if you know how the international airport is set up, you know, just around the roundabout, you have a lot of residents hoping to see as this long list of vehicles pass by, just in an effort perhaps to give a wave and a smile. You would have seen that our news team, we got that special wave and smile from the Duke and the Duchess just a few minutes ago, and now they are taking off, of course being escorted by two police motorcyclists and a police vehicle in front, the Duke and the Duchess just shortly behind, and then we have the Deputy Prime Minister and a whole group of other persons following shortly behind. Again, in about 30 minutes to an hour, they're expected to arrive at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, and there, this wonderful trip will take a more sobering turn as the Duke and Duchess have made the request to hear the story of Hurricane Dorian from the children who had to evacuate out of the children's home back in 2019. And so, as you see, the airport is being quickly cleared out by members of the media. The Duke and Duchess now making their way to begin their official tour here on the island of Grand Bahama. And of course, we will be back with all of the live updates at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, and their final and only stop after the Grand Bahama Children's Home will be at Coral Vita. And so we'll check back in with you later, Julian. Back to you guys in studio.
Okay, thank you, Shashina, and we look forward to hearing the stories of the royal visit, particularly to the Children's Home. We know that that is a situation, young people, young children, that they're very, very concerned about. So there should be some heartwarming and heart-wrenching stories that come out of that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There's about 26 children in there, I think.
Wow.
And I think 2 of them are physically disabled and several are emotionally challenged.
I wonder if any of them are actually people from who have been made orphans as a result of Hurricane Dorian, because that would be an added trauma. You know,
probably.
I guess for the individual, it doesn't matter
whoever was
what
in
caused
that
you
building,
to be orphaned, but having survived a hurricane in addition to it can be quite a devastating effect on you psychologically.
But the home was completely obliterated. Mm-hmm. So all the children and teachers had to be evacuated.
Wow.
And then they had to manage through the pandemic to look after them and keep them safe from that. So whilst the place was rebuilt, so a very difficult time for teachers and for the orphans. Very difficult. Mm. So we're going to have a nice tour. Apparently they're going to have a welcome address first and a little tour, and then meet the little ones. And then they're going to help finalize the, they've got a little motif, a mosaic. They're going to put the finishing touches to that. This is something the children have made. And then I think they're going to speak to the older children and learn of the stories, the Dorian stories.
Wonderful. Well, we are going to take quite a bit of a break this time, not a short one. We will be back to resume our coverage at 3:30. Tune in again then.
Of the Bahamas. Fly away. Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
JS Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
RBC has been growing with the Bahamas for over 110 years. We are committed to deepening our relationship with existing clients and forging new ones in the future. With investments in youth, education, and environmental initiatives, we're dedicated to helping you and our communities grow.
We're here to help you flourish. We're RBC.
RBC Royal Bank.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
What? Check old girl, boy. You say she getting married? Oh, man, not again.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man's BTC home internet with this woman BTC mobile service in holy matrimony. So they'll pay half the price compared to the other guys.
What's wrong with you? Just let them...
Madam, do you have BTC mobile service?
I do.
Sir, do you have BTC home internet to unite with her mobile service?
I do.
Get all the internet you want at half the price when you bundle your home internet and mobile service.
So, what services do you have?
Me? I have BTC at home and on my phone.
Visit any BTC store to make the switch today.
At Bank of the Bahamas, we give you lots of reasons to love your life. We offer the lowest rates in the country on debt consolidation and consumer loans. And we help you save with our low-rate switch mortgages. Need a new car? Simply apply for a BOB auto loan and hit the road. And shopping is so easy with BOB credit and prepaid cards. It's time to live and laugh again. Love the life you live with BOB, your bank of solutions.
Of the Bahamas. Fly away.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
J.S. Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
The year is 1830. Pompeii was only one of the thousands of slaves toiling on the islands of the Bahamas. John Roll, a British lord and a large plantation owner on the island of Exuma, declared that 77 of his slaves would be transferred to work on Cat Island in the Bahamas. Pompeii, a 32-year-old slave, defied the transfer order.
You turn around, dig a hole in the ground.
Pompeii was a slave on the Roll estate in Inagua, and we know that by the 1830s there was much dissension among the enslaved persons in the region throughout the world because the abolition movement was going on. And they knew that there was going to be change, and they resisted. So when the authorities at the plantation in Exuma decided that they were going to relocate Pompey and other slaves to Cat Island, we know that some of them went to Trinidad, they protested. They decided they were not leaving. They had established communities there, families there. They were farming. They were not going to leave. And that is what caused the revolt. And Pompey, along with others in the settlement, approximately 44 of them, were, after the skirmish, the encounter with the authorities, they took the salt boats of the planter and they came to Nassau. They wanted to see the governor. The governor at the time was James Carmichael Smith, and they came to see him. He was himself an abolitionist, but they were arrested, put in the workhouse. Eventually they were freed, and Pompey went back to Exuma as a hero.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
By now, you should understand exactly who Pompey is. With that in mind, Alive decided to partner with the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas and the Antiquities, Monuments and Museums Corporation to add some flavor to what is known as the Pompeii Museum. The museum, located in downtown Nassau, is one of the several historic buildings in New Providence. Deputy Director of the National Museum of the Bahamas, Kim Stubbs, and Deputy Leader for Communications and Education, Malika Martin, explains the history behind the museum and Pompey himself.
The Pompeii Museum of Slavery and Emancipation was opened in 1992. And the building, however, dates back to 1769 or thereabouts. And the building is called Vendue House, which means sold. And it was a marketplace from which slaves, food goods, animals, anything that was for sale happened here. Initially, this building was a marketplace. All of the columns, all of the arches would have been open. It was a one-story building, and it was the center of commerce with Government House at the top of the hill, the cathedral, and the center of the military at the west.
Pompey himself is one of the most influential historical figures, one that perhaps we don't talk about as much as we should, but in the context of Pompeii Museum, what you have is an institution. The building itself is centuries old. It is a former auction house for enslaved or captured Africans who would eventually be enslaved. So there's this incredibly rich history around the space itself, which was one of the reasons why we were so glad that Alive got in contact with us and reached out to us, because it was really important that there be an authentic sort of conversation and creation, so that it just wouldn't be a branding opportunity, but really an opportunity to honor both the building itself, its historical significance, what's happening on the inside of Pompeii, which is really important as well. I mean, buildings are wonderful. You know, we love our Villa Doyle, but they only tell so much of our story. When you come inside, there's a much broader, as well as a much more nuanced narrative. And you see that in Pompeii Museum as well.
Driving downtown on Main Bay Street, you would now see that the western and front portion of the Pompeii Museum has a mural painted on it. How did it get there? Why is it there? The idea was born from a conversation between Chief Alive Commercial Officer Gravette Brown and Alive content developer Theo McLean.
A few months ago, me and Gravette walked downtown and noticed that there was a lack of color and vibrance within the community, just of the Bahamas in general. But downtown being the main attraction of the tourist industry, or just being a main attraction of the Bahamas, it was kind of drab. So the use of the live motif colors have been applied effectively. My position within this whole organization is to ensure that the brand is reflected and represented in a tasteful manner. And as you can see, Julian has done a stellar job with it.
Theo McLean, who is one of our very talented parts of our production and content team. He's a graphic designer and an artist. He and I started talking about how we could infuse art throughout the Bahamas and using Alive as a brand signal, because we really felt that art was a very big part of the Alive brand. And so we had some conversations, we did some work about it. Kind of around the same time I started conversations with Pompeii Museum. We wanted to find ways to help them elevate their brand. And these conversations that Theo and I had kind of took flight, and I thought, okay, well, maybe we can do a mural. And so we just started that conversation with them. And it took a year, you know? I mean, I think all great things take time.
And take time it did. The process of painting the mural onto an historic building was an involved one. So involved that it took 8 long weeks to paint once the design was chosen. Lead artist Julian Smith took on one of the biggest projects of his life.
My job was to look at and see what was there and to extract from that and create a composition and, create these images that were juxtaposed against each other. And obviously, naturally, what came to me was a sort of collage of imagery. And it involved, using scaffolding and a comprehensive scaffolding. And there was some misunderstanding and misjudging about all the materials and everything that needed to be in place in order to execute it. We needed to get up to the heights that you can see. And, a lot of that, there was some miscommunication in the beginning, but those hurdles were crossed, and we were able to get it done. And I think, for the most part, we can say that we're happy with what has resulted.
Mrs. Elton Stubbs notes that Mr. Smith wasn't just randomly selected. A competition was actually held to select the artist who would get to paint on the Pompeii Museum.
We were initially approached by Alive to partner and do a project. I spoke with people from your company about the idea of something at Pompeii Museum that would help us to attract more people to the museum so that they could find out more about the museum, so that they would feel that this is theirs, they can come in, they know that it's here. And we walked the site, and it was decided we would do a mural. And then we decided now we need to find the right artist, somebody who can see the vision and what needs to happen. We interviewed a number of artists. We had renderings from a number of artists. We at Antiquities insisted that the mural needed to reflect what was here in the museum.
As Bahamians, we often fail to realize just how significant art is to our culture.
I love the fact that Alive is bringing art awareness to the Bahamas, mainly because it allows individuals to express themselves in any manner. Sound, arts, performing arts, anything of the magnitude we embrace. The diversity of Bahamian culture also is reflected through arts. Being a part of this initiative, it means a lot to me because growing up in the Bahamas, you see the suppression in certain areas of our culture. And in cases like this, it is breaking the boundaries.
We don't realize when we see something of beauty how that can just change your outlook for the day. You wake up in the morning, instead of looking at just a plain wall, now you can look at an image that makes you think, that makes you wonder, that makes you imagine, you know, that makes you believe in something a bit greater maybe than whatever circumstance you happen to find yourself in. That is what art does. And as I said, we believe it's really intrinsic to our brand. I mean, art represents creativity. Creativity is alive. It's what we're all about, pushing the envelope, encouraging people to think about things that are, you know, better and beyond and greater than themselves, greater than ourselves.
And this mural is fantastic. It is a great piece of work done by Mr. Smith, depicting from whence we have come as a people. It depicts the struggle. It depicts freedom. It depicts Bahamian history.
I wanted to treat the building and the history of the building with respect. And so I questioned, you know, do you really want me to just paint directly on the walls? And, you know, what is that going to mean, you know, and is it going to be maintained? And you know, I was assured that yes, you know, that would be the case. And like I said, once the work was on it, you know, my queries and my doubts about, you know, the surface, you know, just kind of, it went away.
The job was a mammoth task. So Mr. Smith decided to engage the help of several people, 6 other artisans to be exact. 3 of them, Tabitha Adderley, Veron Adderley, and Janive Smith, share their experiences and feelings on painting of the mural.
Everyday person's class and ask, so what is it? And then they'll ask what this section is, or just, I don't know, who's the artist, and so we'll tell them it's Jolien, but then we all still have a little bit of talent, so it was pretty good.
To understand who we are as a people, we need to remember our history, and so putting the slaves from the slave ship on Pompeii Museum allows us to remember what our history is, and then it will help us as a people to better understand and progress forward. Because, you know, slavery is not only physical, but it's in the minds of people sometimes. And so remembering where you came from is important, and breaking the mental shackles off your mind.
Just thank God and give thanks that, you know, we already been through what we had to go through to get to this level today. You know what I'm saying? I guess everything happens for a reason. I wasn't supposed to be born in that era, you know, that's why I'm here. But, you know, yeah, give thanks, you know, for that time has passed, and I'd like to be hopeful and mindful that, you know, we've grown, but, you know, can't really speak for everybody, you know. But, yeah, you know, just really thankful that, you know, that era in the Bahamas has passed.
Alive's brand and inventory champion, Anissa Adderley, was proud to be a part of this project. In fact, Anissa too was part of the process when the idea was initially born from the conversation between Gravette and Theo.
Anissa Adderley had also started working with Theo just within the schools, creating art competitions and building murals. So there were all of these kind of separate, distinct conversations happening amongst what would eventually become the same team, all around art, all around the promotion of art, and joining it with our brand Alive, which is very unique and artistic and creative. And just using all of that to create something fantastic for the Bahamas.
I think it was important for Alive to be a part of this project because it's at the core of what we do as a company. We believe in art education, and we've been doing murals throughout the islands, actually. We started with the Believe in Best Art competition, where we've been into several schools already. St. John's, St. Cecilia, just to name a few of them. We're currently at UB, and we're just providing students the opportunity, giving them the platform to express themselves in an artistic manner. while also shedding light on art education in the Bahamas. Looking at the mural for the first time, it was just like a breath of fresh air. Downtown is now alive. And it's just, as brand manager for Alive, I feel excited about that. I am honored to have partnered with, worked with Ravat and Theo and Jolion and Kim and Malika and all of the students and persons who were involved in this project, and see it come to life and see it being birthed, and knowing that, you know, we all made it happen.
So it was a team effort. Alive, the NAGB, the National Museum of the Bahamas, the painters, all played a major role. Every detail was important. Making sure the mural depicted exactly what was inside the museum was important, right down to choosing which colors would be used. No detail was left untouched.
The nature of the exhibit and the museum, you know, sort of conjure up this idea that it's more a solemn, more sober kind of subject. And so initially, there was a little bit of hesitation with that. And I think I addressed that and questioned whether we had to use that palette. But those were the perimeters that were given. And so I had to make it work. And so, you know, once we got past that hurdle, it was easy. It was about embracing the colors, and I know making it work with the composition. And I think the reception of it has been more than favorable.
So what's next for Alive and the NAGB? Only time will tell. Malika shares, however, that the excitement is real and more projects will come as a result of the mural now painted on Pompeii Museum.
We're just really excited to see how, you know, these various relationships and connections continue to unfold with Alive. It's really, really exciting, and we're incredibly grateful because as an institution, as a nonprofit, corporate responsibility is a concept that's still evolving in our national market and our national landscape. And so to see Alive taking such a proactive role in developing meaningful and in-depth relationships and connections with institutions of import is incredibly important, and I think is disrupting the market, as well as leading the way in terms of how corporations can engage in a really important way with its national institutions.
The story of Pompeii is one of struggle and strength. It is a story many don't know. With this mural, it is our hope that Pompeii's story will not only live on, but that people, Bahamians and tourists alike, will be drawn to it and also be drawn inside the museum to learn more about the man many deem should be one of the Bahamas' national heroes. No doubt, your commute down Bay Street will no longer be the same. Alive. Believe in best.
This public service announcement has been brought to you by the Bahamas National Trust in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
For 60 years, we have been here, the voice of the environment. Here, speaking up and for your national parks, all across the islands of this nation. The places God visits for vacation, spanning over 2.5 million acres of land and sea. How delighted then he must be to see a sea of pink, as flamingos mingle and haven like jingles play where queen counts still sleep. And if you listen, you can hear it. The words of gossiping parrots awaiting the diction of the day. All 365 of them, that's every day and every year, 15,000 children share in the beauty of this playground. Our Our name is yours. And we have been yours for years unnoticed. Don't...
You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
Welcome back to our coverage, our live coverage of the royal visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Well, they're on Grand Bahama right now. We're actually still on Grand Bahama, and of course, the first stop there for them was the Grand Bahama Children's Home. Now, officials have been anticipating this visit for some time. Here's details in this report.
As I said, the kids, we keep on going, you're going to meet a real...
Okay, we are actually going live now to Shoshana Roll Farquharson, who is on the ground in Grand Bahama and at the Grand Bahama Children's Home. Shoshana?
Doors of residents from Grand Bahama are lined up, many of them at the entrance of the Grand Bahama Children's Home. They are outside of their cars. Some have the British flags. Many of them have the Bahamian flags. You have primary school students out here. You have high school students out here, as well as representatives from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, as well as members of the government. And if you pan right over there to the left, you will also see just outside the door Her Excellency Leslie Miller Bryce, who is also here. Now, here's how the tour is set up. Just as soon as they went inside, they would have met with the officials of the Grand Bahama Children's Home, and the Duke and Duchess would have been given a hope mosaic that the children would have created. It's a special art piece. They will also add to that art piece. Then they will have an opportunity to speak with the children who had to be rescued during Hurricane Dorian. The Duke and Duchess made it clear, as we would have said earlier, that they want to hear firsthand from these kids about their experience and how climate change and Hurricane Dorian has impacted them. If you can recall, these children would have had to leave their homes. They were evacuated from the Grand Bahama Children's Home back in 2019 in the brunt of the storm. And so they would have been flown out to Nassau for a year while this Grand Bahama Children's Home had to be rebuilt. And so the Duke and Duchess has made it clear that they want to hear from the mouths of these babes exactly what it was like to go through Hurricane Dorian, and now coming back into the children's home where they had to be reacclimated with family, with friends, with a lot of persons who they would have not seen for a very long time. And then their Royal Highnesses say that they want to hear some of the stories and dreams from the older children, and also speak with some members of staff who is indeed the backbone of the home. That tour will also wrap up at the outside at the front of the home, where they will unveil a commemorative plaque as well as send well wishes to the Queen. Now, we also have a number of persons who will be joining us today, who will talk a little bit about what this means to them, having the opportunity to meet the Duke and Duchess. Among them, we have some students. They are from Mary Star of the Sea School. Hello. We see that you are here with your Bahamian flags. Talk a little bit about what it means to meet the Prince as well as the Duchess today.
Well, to me and to the Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy students, we are very excited and elated to be here, and we can't wait to share what we saw and learned today with our schoolmates on Monday.
How exciting is this?
It is very exciting for me. I am very grateful to be here on behalf of Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Academy and to be in the presence of the Duke and Duchess. This is the first time for me, and I'm sure for many others, so I am just very ecstatic right now.
Ecstatic is the word. I think that is the word that most of us can use here today. I remember not so long ago when I was in primary school and we had an opportunity to meet Queen Elizabeth. I think that was back in the early 90s. And they are looking at me, Julian, trying to figure out how could I say that's not so long ago. But it really wasn't that long ago. And it is indeed a memory that will last a lifetime. What do you say about that? Let me talk to someone else. Come in. What do you say about that? A little shy. This one is a little shy. But what about you? You get to meet the prince. You get to see him today. What does it mean for you to be out here and to possibly get a little wave today? And one of the opportunities that the officials here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home say that they want to take advantage of is the fact that the world is now looking in not just on the Bahamas, New Providence, Abaco, but at the Grand Bahama Children's Home as the royals are now making their way and are have an opportunity to speak with the children, especially when they hear about some of As you may not know, the Grand Bahama...
Okay, we were hearing from Shashina Royal-Farquharson, who's on the ground there in Grand Bahama at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, speaking about the anticipation of the royals and the actual people who run the home there. Now, of course, as I said, the Grand Bahama Children's Home is the first stop there for the Duke and Duchess, and the officials at the home say they've been preparing for weeks for the royal visit, and their hope is that this visit will bring international attention to the challenges that exist at the home ever since Dorian rolled through. Here's this report.
As I said, the kids, we keep on going, you're going to meet a real prince and princess, you know.
What did they say?
Oh, my goodness. They've already said some of their favorites, right? It'll be interesting to see how the children will respond. And when I say favorites, the little boys are really excited to meet the Duchess. And I think there might be a game of soccer, hopefully for the Duke as well. Who knows how that will go.
The excitement has been building for weeks now. The little darlings at the Children's Home will perhaps have a once-in-a-lifetime experience to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate. Nearly 30 kids at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, a place of refuge for those who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected.
There are extraordinarily difficult circumstances that no child should ever have to face. And so what I always find really poignant is the fact that despite the circumstances that these children face, they're like all of our children, right? They want to laugh, they want to learn, they want to be loved.
Today, they will hear firsthand the experiences of the children, in particular when it comes to Category 5 Hurricane Dorian, the worst storm in Bahamian history. The Duchess has been an advocate of promoting education on climate change and continues to take part in activities to equip young people with the skills to tackle this global challenge.
So imagine, as you said, the trauma that brings the children to us. 30 children, along with the staff, had to be evacuated from here in the storm, wading through waters. We have video clips of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force coming in to rescue them. And then fairly immediately, after the all clear was given, they were then transferred to Nassau, where they spent about a year. And many of our children were split up. We have siblings that are in here and whatnot, and they were split up amongst 3 homes in Nassau. And obviously we were very grateful that they had a safe space to live, but can you imagine, it's just trauma on top of trauma. Everything they knew, some of their siblings and best friends had just been in an instant taken.
According to the Royal Foundation, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge also are passionate about early childhood. Officials at the home plan to share how the home operates. Even with a subvention, the home runs a deficit of $400,000 a year. as they have to prepare nearly 30,000 meals.
It's very important for our home on a couple of levels. I told you about that shortfall. Things are tough. As much as things are coming back, as we get further removed from Dorian, we saw our donations significantly be impacted, and it's a struggle. We're struggling right now when we go in and out of overdraft, and that shortfall seems really overwhelming. So we're very grateful for the attention to the work we're trying to do here, because we're confident that if people can see what our mission is, to give the best care that we can for the children who are the most vulnerable so that they can heal and thrive, just like they always have, locally, nationally, and internationally, we'll be able to rally around us so that we can give them that stability and help them heal and help them thrive. So the attention is very much welcomed and needed. It couldn't come at a better time.
And their hope is that this visit will bring more local and international attention to some of the most vulnerable on Grand Bahama.
More than anything, we want to tell our story. And what is very comforting to us is to hear the work that is being done on a groundbreaking level about early childhood development. We see this in very difficult ways every single day. How what happens in a child's life has ripple effects for the rest of their lives. And at each moment, you can almost see little crossroads the children take each day, and you know the trauma that they've been through, you know the healing that needs to take place, you know the intervention, you hear about the educational gaps, and you see that where between the neglect they had to begin with, the stop and starts in education, and frankly the difficulty of online schooling for 30 children. We see all of that. And so when we know that there are people that are like the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge that are championing our children's causes, their mental health well-being, and understanding what it takes to get them to the place, we're just so hopeful that that legacy will bring some resources from who knows where, right? Some insights, some help that we might be able to get. So we're seeing this as, first of all, an exciting opportunity to meet two very caring, dynamic individuals.
And they say the children have been in preparation mode for some time now in expectation of the royals' arrival. Now they are ready to meet and greet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
Concerns, ambitions. They've also done vision boards, because one of the things that was requested was that the Duke and Duchess wanted to hear from the children's perspective, their hopes, their dreams, what it was like through COVID, what it was like through Dorian, so that they can get a better sense and a connection with the Grand Bahama Children's Home.
We have a very exciting project, a mosaic that the children did themselves, a beautiful hope mosaic that they will be finishing with the Duke and Duchess. So we've got some neat things planned, and to tell them the story through the children's eyes. We can talk about their story all we want, but no one tells it better than they do. And again, like I said, it's no matter what they've been through, the trauma, the challenges that they've had, their ability to dream, to laugh, to have joy, to give a hug, to jump on your lap is just extraordinary. Reminds us what we tend to forget about as adults. So this is a very special time, something they will never forget. What an opportunity for them. And I really do believe that they will touch the Duke and Duchess's heart in a really special way.
And their hope is that this visit will bring more local and international attention to some of the most vulnerable on Grand Bahama.
We thank Shoshana for that report, but we are going to go live to her now. I believe she has someone with her who knows and understands Grand Bahama exceptionally well. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville. Shoshana?
And would you just take a look at this shot here, Julian? You still see where the crowd is continuing to grow. Right behind me, you have the acting chairman of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Sarah St. George, as well as Her Excellency Leslie Miller Bryce, as well as Henry St. George. Now, the Grand Bahama Port Authority continues to be active contributors to the success of the Grand Bahama Children's Home under the patronage of Lady Henrietta. There you have the some of the benefactors and the patrons going inside of the Grand Bahama Children's Home. As we can imagine, they will also have a word with the Duke and Duchess. Outside the gates, though, the crowd is continuing to grow, many of them with their British and Bahamian flags. We also have, with his Bahamian flag, our very own Minister of Health Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, who is here proudly today as well, representing Minister Darville. What does this mean for Grand Bahama to have the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge here?
Well, good afternoon, Grand Bahama. I think this is an excellent day. The Duke and Duchess are on the island. We believe it's going to be an excellent tour. We have had the Children's Home, and the reason why we're here is because of the great work that's taking place here. I know Grand Bahama is fully aware of the devastation of the Children's Home after Hurricane Dorian, and I would like to take this time to highlight the Grand Bahama Port Authority, who played an intricate role in what we see with the reconstruction of the home, and to thank the residents of Grand Bahama who are very instrumental in the furniture and the upkeep inside. This is excellent for the Grand Bahamas Children's Home. As a former member of Pine Ridge, I always saw this as a great gem, and the excellent work that the team is doing here. We have so many children here in Grand Bahama who are part of this home and are doing extremely well in our community.
Thank you very much, Minister Darwell. Also, if you heard earlier, there are some 30 children who now live inside the children's home, and despite trying to rebuild from Hurricane Dorian, they still have a very long way to go, and I'm pretty sure that the Duke and Duchess will hear about some of the challenges as well as recovery efforts here at the home. But with me is a former board member, someone who has worked extremely hard on maintaining this place, which is a safe haven for our children, Mrs. Sarah Kirkby. Thank you so much for being with us today. What does this mean to you?
I think it's absolutely a huge opportunity for us. Not only are we going to be able to showcase to our own local population, an update about the home, but internationally it'll be fantastic for us. It will mean that people in England or all over the world who watch and see everything the Duke and Duchess do will be able to see that they've come to our home. And they're known for doing such amazing things and helping children. This is one of Kate's most, as far as I understood, her request. So being here is phenomenal for us. It will put us on the map, we hope. As you said, we have a shortfall, so we really want to, ask people to reach out in their pockets and help us. Every penny counts, whether it's $20, a pack of diapers, or whatever. Every bit means the most to us. We have a $400,000 shortfall that we make up. We are a private home. We are half run by the government and half run by the private people that started this home years ago. And so that's where we're at now. And so by them being here today, think of the exposure that we're going to get. It's going to be phenomenal. And also, I think it must be amazing for our children back there to see a real Duke and Duchess. For them, it's a prince and princess. We were laughing earlier. There's a present they'll be giving to the Queen and for the Duchess. And I'm sure our kids are going to be beside themselves trying to give that to them. And are they going to be allowed to hug them? I hope so, because our kids are huggers. So they should be getting a lot of Bahamian love back there.
And, we did hear, Sarah, from the organizers and officials here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, that the Duke and Duchess, they want to have a conversation with these children. They want to talk to them. And so if you're watching and you're wondering why the cameras are not inside, firstly, it's not inside because we are trying to protect these children, which is most important. And then secondly, it's because they want to have a private conversation with the children to hear firsthand what they would have endured during Hurricane Dorian, what their experiences are now. We know that for them to be placed within the home, one of the officials told me it's because of either abandonment, neglect, or something going on within their home. And so
compound that with Hurricane Dorian. This has been a safe haven for many of them for many years. They would have had to leave Grand Bahama, go into Nassau, and find a new home. And coming back to Grand Bahama has been very, very difficult for them, Sarah, based on what I understand. And now they are just now getting back into feeling safe all over again. And so we understand that many of them are excited about meeting an actual prince.
I think we are, and I think you're going to see they're coming out now for the presentation. And like you said, imagine how exciting it must be to explain to these children that these are the people who have come across all the way across the world and want to spend time with you. And that's the main thing. They want that little bit of time with them just to hear what they have to say. These kids were traumatized. The whole place went completely underwater. So it's a big change. Bringing them back home after they were in Nassau for almost a year was huge for them. Settling them down was huge. Then we had COVID. So, it was a lot. So as much as we can, letting them talk to people is great. And because of all the help we had after the hurricane, they now do have therapy, which is a huge thing for us, which we did not have before. And we want to keep that going. These kids usually are taken away for dramatic reasons, and then the addition of all of the trauma from the hurricanes just adds to that. So for them to have this quality time and for us to get the word out is phenomenal. So we can't thank you enough for being here as well to cover it for us and to help us spread the word about our gorgeous home.
And of course, I also understand that the officials inside will also talk a little bit about a new launch that you have here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, where you asking persons to sponsor a child. I think it's $30 a week if you can, $100 or $200 and something dollars. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Well,
who may be interested.
Everybody wants to help. You don't have to be a millionaire to help our children. Every little dollar counts. So you can sponsor a child for a week. You can sponsor them for a month. You've just got to go online, have a look at the donate issue. It's very simple. We've hooked up with banks to make it easy as possible. The corporate sponsors help, but it's the day-to-day expenses that help. We also accept volunteers here at the home, and one of the most lovely things people do is they bake cookies and bring them to us. Western Bakery is phenomenal for giving us great cooking items on the weekend as well.
And of course, we have the money shot here. We have the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, as well as our lovely First Lady, Anne-Marie Davis. And we will pan a little bit to the left so that we ensure that we do not get any video of the children. We have already been warned about that a few times, just to ensure the safety and protection, of course, of our children. Also exiting, we have the Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, who is also having a conversation with one of the kids here at the home. And we do expect any minute now for the Duke and Duchess to also make their way out of the Grand Bahama Children's Home, and then their next stop is supposed to be at Coral Vita. Again, you have a lot of persons who have lined up here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, hoping to see the Duke and Duchess, perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many of us here on Grand Bahama. We do not know when or if this will happen again, but many are excited to show their love to the Duke and the Duchess. Again, you have one of the children from the Grand Bahama Children's Home. She, of course, her back is turned to the cameras, but we assume that one of the reasons why she is turned with her back faced to the camera is because they are now going to take, I'm guessing, some more official photos. You have a lot of media houses here, not just from Grand Bahama, but also international media houses from the UK and all over. Again, this tour with the Duke and Duchess today, it started off here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, where they added their finishing touches to a hope mosaic. And it is a very special art piece that was done by the children of the home to help celebrate hope. And that is why it is called the Hope Mosaic. Again, the Duke and Duchess will also have an opportunity to speak with the children who had to be rescued during Hurricane Dorian.
We know that both of them have used their platform for such a long time to promote tackling climate change and getting world leaders to understand its impact. And here they are. They are now exiting the Grand Bahama Children's Home after having a very detailed tour. There you have the lovely Duchess, who has had a smile on her face since she came to New Providence. We've seen where she has made it her duty to really talk with the locals, to engage them at every opportunity. Again, they are with a delegation, and what is taking place right now is what will wrap up this tour outside of the home, where they are unveiling a commemorative plaque. And the plan is to also send special wishes to the Queen. And so that is the conversation that they are having at this time.
How are you?
Good. We also have with us someone who is intricate when it comes to the Grand Bahama Children's Home and ensuring its sustainability. Leslie Baptista, are you able to just tell us, I know that they are unveiling a commemorative plaque, exactly what is going on at this moment?
What we're doing is just celebrating the fact that the Royal Duke and Duchess have visited us, and the plaque commemorates that. We had a prayer that was written by one of our children and said so beautifully, and it's been just an exciting time, and we appreciate everyone listening, and hopefully this will bring much needed attention to the Grand Bahama Children's Home. And you know, it takes a village, and that's what we've been conveying to everyone here. It takes a village to keep our doors open and our children safe here at the home. So we're so excited about this opportunity to get our story out.
And of course, the Duke and Duchess now saying their final goodbyes, giving a wave as they now move on to their next stop. Again, we understand that this visit here at the home is indeed one that was extremely special to them. And here they are driving off, waving to the children and to the team here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home. Certainly a special moment, especially when you consider everything that these children have gone through over the past few years, from Hurricane Dorian to COVID-19, and now having this special visit. They've been preparing for weeks now, excited about this visit from the Duke and Duchess and sharing what it meant to them. And I'm sure that this undoubtedly would have lifted their spirits. We also, before we wrap up here at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, I would be remiss if we do not speak to one of the persons who has been a part of the Grand Bahama Children's Home for decades. And for you, this has to be a special moment, especially knowing everything what the children would have endured over the past 2 years, and now having their spirit uplifted in such a grand way.
Oh, it's been going for more than 2 years. I mean, since 1980, when we moved from Jobson Avenue, and the government and Lady Henrietta rebuilt this home. And then Hurricane Dorian wiped us out, and then it's been rebuilt. And look at it now. This is a wonderful moment. And I'm sure that the Duke and the Duchess really enjoyed meeting with the children. And it was an honor for us to see them here. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I spoke to Lady Henrietta on a voicemail this afternoon, and she was so happy that they were all here. Yeah, and she was doing well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, this wraps up the first leg of the tour here on Grand Bahama at the Grand Bahama Children's Home. As you would have seen just a few minutes earlier, the Duke and Duchess would have exited after exchanging pleasantries once again, and now they are off to Coral Vita, a very important stop for the Duke and Duchess. As we would have said before, tour, you know, they continue to promote the importance of tackling climate change. And so at Coral Vita, they are expected to do a tour there. And so, Julian, we'll see you back in just a few minutes. Back to you guys in studio.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Shashina. And Serena, I just have to say, it's difficult enough, right? If you're an adult, to be displaced as so many thousands of people were after Hurricane Dorian, but to be a child, to be parentless, and then displaced, not just from the home you knew, but from the island you knew to another one. Such a drastic change in your life. So it's good to see that things are actually starting to pick up a little bit for them again. There's hope at the end of the rainbow, eh?
Very much.
Well, tackling climate change is of crucial concern to the Duke and Duchess, and Coral Vita, which is the second stop on the Royal Tour in Grand Bahama, was one of 3 finalists on the Revive Our Oceans category, and actually was one of 5 winners of the £1 million grand prize. Now, the prize is awarded by the Earthshot organization, which, as I told you earlier, was founded by Prince William and naturist and broadcaster Sir David Attenborough. Now, Sabrina Brown of our Northern Service spoke with the founders of the organization and what it means to have their Royal Highnesses visit their coral farm today. Here's that report.
Coral Vita works to restore dying and damaged reefs, a part of a global effort to protect coral reefs around the world. Co-founder Sam Teicher says they are honored that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will visit the coral farm to get an up-close look at the operation.
We won the Earthshot Prize last year, which was created by Prince William to spur innovation for protecting the planet all around the world, and it's also an honor that the Bahamas is recognized for these efforts. And so we've been spending quite some time getting ready for them.
Teicher gave us a sneak peek into what the royal couple will do when they arrive at Coral Vita.
We will be taking them through the coral farm here. They'll be able to meet some of our partners and supporters here in the Bahamas that have helped us get to this point. And then we're going to walk them through why we exist, the threats that coral reefs face and their importance for protecting them, and actually take them through the farm here so they can see us using these methods developed by our original advisors to grow corals up to 50 times faster, so months instead of decades, to strengthen their resilience against threats like climate change, to see the wave energy tank and put their hands in the touch tank to hold sea stars and conch and see and experience all the life that the coral reefs allow to thrive. And then hopefully we'll be able to do some fun stuff actually out on the coral reef with them.
Preparation for the royal visit is now in high gear at Coral Vita, and they're leaving nothing to chance.
We've been doing a lot of landscaping. We've got new educational signs that are going to be arriving today that we'll be installing all around the farm, having all the coral tanks prepped and the boats ready, and the staff are incredibly excited, so we've all been going over the things that we're going to share with them, right? This is a team effort here at Coral Vita, and so having everyone be able to really know, here's what we want to share with the Duke and Duchess, and getting everyone ready, and then working with the government here to ensure that the visit goes as great as it possibly can.
Aquaculture tech Oscar Riley is playing a vital role in making sure that the facility is ready for Saturday's visit.
We've been up in production of fragging, make sure they're nice, and they have a lot of different species they can view, as well as cleaning out the system so they have a view of what a proper system looks like when it's up and running and operational, as well as just getting the grounds nice and clean and neat.
Coral Vita only recently recovered after being destroyed by a 17-foot storm surge during Hurricane Dorian in 2019. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
That report there from Sabrina Brown of our Northern Service, and that is the next stop and final stop in Grand Bahama for the royal couple who have a vested interest in that particular. It's a result of, they're the beneficiaries of a prize from the Earthshot people, which is founded by Prince William and Sir David Attenborough. Well, Serena Williams, what do you think about that tour? That report from Shashina in the first instance was very touching, I think.
It was very thorough. She'd certainly done her research, and she understood
understood the problem completely. The thing with that home is that those children arrived at the orphanage already traumatized, otherwise they wouldn't be there. So on top of that, then it's the Dorian situation where they all had to leave because it just got completely wiped out. So very difficult situation, but you noticed at the end of the speech, Sarah Kirkby mentioned that they had begun therapy for these children as a matter of course. And this is their pilot mental health program that they started not so long ago. So that's important, and I know very well that Kate, for sure, asked them about that program because, as you know, that's dear to her heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Coral Vita is the final stop.
Yep.
It's amazing what they do there, isn't it?
They grow coral. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it grows 50 times faster than coral under the sea.
And you know, Grand Bahama is one of those places where they first found this stony coral tissue loss disease that literally wipes out coral.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's what sparked their company to do what they do, but it's very crucial on the way forward because Grand Bahama, Abaco, and New Providence really seeing an increase in this thing that is like, we call it COVID for coral.
Yeah.
That's how...
it's a pandemic underwater.
Yeah, devastating it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's very useful and necessary.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll have more for you after this.
The Royal Visit, William and Kate, is brought to you by the Bahama Out Island Promotion Board. To fly free to the Family Islands. Visit bahamasresidents.com for details.
RBC has been growing with the Bahamas for over 110 years. We are committed to deepening our relationship with existing clients and forging new ones in the future. With investments in youth, education, and environmental initiatives, we're dedicated to helping you and our communities grow.
We're here to help you flourish. We're RBC.
RBC Royal Bank.
Of the Bahamas. Fly away.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
Discover the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
I discovered the possibilities.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
JS Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
At Bank of the Bahamas, we give you lots of reasons to love your life. We offer the lowest rates in the country on debt consolidation and consumer loans. And we help you save with our low-rate switch mortgages. Need a new car? Simply apply for a BOB auto loan and hit the road. And shopping is so easy with BOB credit and prepaid cards. It's time to live and laugh again. Love the life you live with BOB, your bank of solutions.
away.
What? Check old girl, boy. Say she getting married? Oh, man, not again. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join this man's BTC home internet with this woman BTC mobile service in holy matrimony. So they'll pay half the price compared to the other guys. What's wrong with you? Just let them... Madam, do you have BTC mobile service?
I do.
Sir, do you have BTC home internet to unite with her mobile service?
I do.
Get all the internet you want at half the price when you bundle your home internet and mobile service.
So, what services do you have? Me? I have BTC at home and on my phone.
Visit any BTC store to make the switch today.
Welcome back. Now, the Royals are actually going to Coral Vita, as we said before, but we are going to have to take an extended break, and we'll be back when they do actually reach Coral Vita. But before that, our guest, Serena Williams, will actually have to leave us. And we want to say thank you so much for participating in this broadcast for the past few days. And we can get your final thoughts before you leave.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Julian. I've enjoyed it. And it's been an honor, really, to be here, especially with this particular call by the Royals. So, no, it's been great. And I think it's gone very well. And I think they've done a good job, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Well, you take good care, and again, we thank you. We also would like to thank Arlene Ash Ferguson, who appeared with us today, and of course, yesterday, India Hicks, for her outstanding contribution as well. So for now, we will say goodbye, but we will be back a bit later with a live broadcast from Coral Vita, where the Royals will have their last stop on Grand Bahama before they return to Nassau to leave the country back to go to the United Kingdom. Take care.
Bahamas is a very beautiful place. We have sandy beaches and clear waters. We have a lot of tourists coming here. We like to dance and make music.
The Bahamas is a chain of islands surrounded by water. It is about 60 miles from Florida.
We live on Andros Island. One of the most beautiful treasures we have in the Bahamas is a coral reef. Some people call it the jewel of the Bahamas.
A coral reef is a massive limestone formation which is built up by millions of little tiny creatures called polyps, which are related to the jellyfish family. I'm Nicholas Nuttall. I founded BREEF, the Bahamas Reef Environment Educational Foundation. People talk about the coral reefs as being the rainforests of the ocean, like a huge bank of trees with all sorts of things living in and off them. Coral reefs are abundant in the Bahamas, or were, up until a few years ago. We have the third longest coral reef in the world.
In the past 20 years, a lot of the coral reef have died.
The coral reefs are endangered because some people throw trash, chemicals, oil, gasoline in the water.
Makes me feel bad because the Bahamas depends on the coral reefs for our tourism.
The danger of the coral reefs are in, I'm afraid, comes from humans. Overfishing is the most immediate cause, and then the global warming, which is caused by excess use of energy, which makes the water warmer, and it's a stress which the coral can't stand. A healthy piece of coral has a dimpled look on it. The colors are either blue or various sorts of orange and yellow. The dead coral is white or brownish and usually covered in weed. It's not a pretty sight.
If you look at the reef now compared to what it was in 1973, it's a vast difference.
My name is Peter Douglas. I'm a dive master here at Small Hope Bay Lodge. In some places, it looks like a war zone. And, you know, we're just sitting here praying, my God, how long can something as delicate as this take this kind of shock? And this has not only happened here, but it's happened globally. Places like the Maldives are like gone, Florida Keys, gone. And we're just sitting here, what can we do to educate and help our young people save this for the next generations?
Now you look out there, eh? You notice how nice and white that water goes out, and then you see the dark areas? The dark areas, turtle grass, and the brown areas, the algae. Now slow down, now you're on these rocks, and there's a lot of living stuff on the rock. You don't want to crush all the little snails.
But what can we do is start by just cleaning up our environment, being sensitive to what we are using, where we're putting it. You know, the planet might be 2/3 water, but that doesn't mean it's a big place to dump.
At our school, we clean up the mangroves and the coral reefs, and we pick up all the dirty trash and all the bottles and other garbage that's there. It helps the baby fishes to live their life.
The swampy wetlands and mangroves are places where people are inclined to go dumping garbage. The kids and the grown-ups are joining in at about 60 different sites which are being cleaned and restored. They can turn this thing around. It can recover. It could be brought round.
Once we go in, we're gonna swim as a group. Ready? Are you excited?
This is not only a Bahamian problem or an Androsian problem. This is a problem for everybody in the world, and especially our neighbors next door in America, because we are one of the big nursery areas for marine life. And, you know, a fish that is born and spawned in the Bahamas could end up someplace off the coast of New York.
I believe the coral reef will survive because more people will know about it, not to trash it, and not to throw all the kind of chemicals and stuff in it.
By keeping the swamp clean, keeping the water clean, I think it will survive.
It's going to be okay because the children of the Bahamas is going to protect it.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, your world leader in optics since 1917.
This week we're on the beautiful island of Inagua, and we're going in quest of our golden bird, the Inagua wood star. Let's go birding. Looks like we can get out into the ocean. We're about to get in a cage with Australian saltwater crocodiles. And I'm going to fly like the birds. Oh! I will never forget this moment. Let's go birding.
Welcome to the islands of the Bahamas. Let's go birding.
Like a scattered string of pearls strewn across a cobalt blue plate, the islands of the Bahamas stretch from their most northerly point in the Abacos south to Andros and Inagua, across 500 miles of the Caribbean Sea. As the site of Columbus's first landfall in the Americas, the Bahamas have a long and storied history. With over 2,000 islands and keys, the Bahamas are home to some of the best beaches, diving, fishing and birding in the world. Join us on a fascinating three-part series on the endemic birds of the Bahamas. From the Inagua wood star to the Abaco parrot to the Bahama oriole of Andros. Join us as we discover the amazing bird life, natural beauty, culture, people and food across this pristine and biodiverse island chain. Home to over 80,000 flamingos, the national bird of the Bahamas, Inagua is a haven for bird watchers. Along with the flamingos, birding enthusiasts will find over 140 species of native and migratory birds, making Inagua the bird-watching capital of the Bahamas. Join us as local Bahamian guide Casper Burrows shares his experience and knowledge, helping us find our golden bird for this episode, the Inagua woodstar. Let's go birding.
We getting breakfast together, man. You know, we got early morning, so.
I have sheep tongue, pig feet, and chicken wing, but I'm doing some cow.
Pig's feet sauce.
I know what I'm getting. Sheep tongue, right?
One sheep tongue for you.
Really tasty, huh?
The national bird of the Bahamas is the American or Caribbean flamingo. And there's no better place to see this bird than on Great Inagua Island in the Bahamas. It's an incredible success story. In the 1950s, there were only about 5,000 of these birds left in the Bahamas. And through the efforts of the National Audubon Society in the United States and the Bahamas National Trust, these birds have staged a wonderful comeback. And today, 60 to 70,000 of these flamingos can be found on Inagua Island in the Bahamas.
Right now we are standing on North Dam. The property behind us is actually owned by Morton Salt, but is very much used by the flamingos.
Morton Salt actually pumps water off the ocean, about 125,000 gallons of seawater per minute off the ocean into Lake Rosa or Lake Windsor. That water is circulated through the reservoir system and then brought into crystallizers, where the salt naturally precipitates from the seawater, falls on the bottom of the crystallizers, and then we use huge equipment to go in and harvest the salt. Morton Salt makes about slightly more than 1 million tons of salt per year. It's used all across the world for de-icing. It's used in the chemical industries. Anything conceivable that is made by man, salt is used somewhere in the process. It's a peaceful feeling to see the flamingos and all the other birds flourish in the reservoir system.
Back in the early 1900s, I guess the island food provisions were very hard, and the flamingos were easy prey for the locals. They would go into the nesting colonies, fire off a couple shots, kill a few birds, and the panic it would create would probably kill the next 1,000 or so. Everybody was depending on it as a source of food, so that kind of wiped the numbers out almost completely. Audubon sent some guys down in the early 50s to the Caribbean to try to protect the flamingos. So then they formed the Society for the Conservation of the West Indian Flamingos. So then we fast forward ahead about 50 plus years now. The population on Inagua is approximately 60, 70,000 flamingos. So I think we have brought the flamingos back from the brink of extinction to great numbers today.
Inagua is the place to be.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, your world leader in optics since 1917.
And sponsored in part by Manfrotto, complete solutions for photographers and videographers. Visit manfrotto.us.
And by Pelagic Polarized Sunglasses. And by the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and the Islands of the Bahamas. Birding is better in the Bahamas.
The residents of Matthewtown open their doors to all guests, including guests of the feathered variety. One of the first things that I noticed when looking at the burrowing owls on Inagua is that they look much paler than the burrowing owls that we get in Florida. This one individual behind me has actually got a very, very pale head, and they're much lighter in color. Any piece of open land on Inagua is prime real estate for burrowing owls. There have to be literally thousands of these birds on the island. We didn't quite expect to find them in one of the more unusual hangouts, though, the cemetery. Quite a spooky place, eh, Casper?
Not so spooky. You know, when I was young growing up, us boys being mischievous, playing around town at night, this is where I'd come so nobody could catch me.
Because nobody else would come in the cemetery?
Nobody else would come in the graveyard. And I've seen grown man walk 5 minutes more just to avoid walking the road passing the graveyard. It's a nice place.
These burrowing owls have been here the whole time?
Yeah, the burrowing owls don't bother you. The people in here, they don't bother you.
The graves in the cemetery are really convenient sites for the burrowing owls to make their burrows underneath. And there are several families here in this small cemetery, all with fluffy little babies that come out and puff themselves up, and they're really, really comical the way they play around. The coastline of Inagua holds unfathomable beauty. This rocky shoreline is home to white-tailed tropic birds. We've got probably about 10 of them right now, circling behind me. Those beautiful white streamer tails and those bright orange bills. These birds actually nest on the rocky shoreline of Inagua. What a stunning place with some absolutely stunning birds. The Bahama race of the Cuban parrot, otherwise known as the Bahama parrot, used to be found on 7 islands in the Bahamas. Today, it's only found in reliable numbers on 2, on Abaco and here on Inagua. The Inagua parrots are very different in their nesting habits to the ones that are found on Abaco, because here on Inagua, they nest in trees, whereas the parrots on Abaco, strangely, nest right in the ground. Several thousand Bahama parrots can be found on Inagua, and the best place to look for them is right around the urban areas of Matthewtown. The scientific name for this parrot is Amazona leucocephala, which means the Amazon with the white head. And it's very distinctive when you see these parrots sitting on top of a tree feeding, with that beautiful white head and these lovely, lovely blue wing bars, which you'll see very prominently when the bird flies. The habitats on Inagua are pretty unique. Starting from the coast, you get the rocky shoreline, and then further inland, you get the mangrove swamps, and then the habitat changes into white land coppice. And this is the habitat that we're standing in right now. As you get further inland from the white land coppice, you get black land coppice. And this habitat here makes it really, really unique and really attractive to a whole wonderful suite of birds. This is awesome. We've got a Bahama mockingbird sitting right up on top of this sea grape. This is a really, really nice example of a bird which looks very, very similar to the northern mockingbird, but is slightly larger and has got more streaking on the flanks, and also it's more of a sort of overall palish wash and not as distinct and crisp in its coloration as the northern mockingbird. Any other differences?
And you also notice that at the end of the tails, you see all of the tail feathers have white tips, whereas on the northern mockingbird, the 2 outside feathers are all white.
White all the way down, right.
You notice he also has the streaking coming right down from the chin, all the way down.
Beautiful
whereas the northern mockingbird we have here is just all white underneath.
So Bahama mockingbird is a little bit of a misnomer because it's not endemic to the Bahamian Islands. It's also found in the Turks and the Caicos, it's found in Cuba, and it's also found in a tiny part of Jamaica called the Hellshire Hills. But still, a very regional endemic, only found on those few Caribbean islands, and very nice to see right here in the Bahamas. And a lot of birders that live in Florida will actually be familiar with the Bahama mockingbird because it is quite a regular vagrant to the Florida mainland. And at least once every other year, a Bahama mockingbird will show up somewhere in South Florida. What a great bird. Really nice to see that Bahama mockingbird. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks, Casper. That's a great sighting. One of the conservation threats facing the Bahama mockingbird is actually the northern mockingbird, its counterpart, because northern mockingbirds will sometimes outcompete Bahama mockingbirds in certain areas. And this is happening with regularity on the island of Cuba, for example. Well, an awesome bird, the Bahama mockingbird. Let's see what else this wonderful island has in store for us.
This Birding Adventures episode is powered by Nikon, your world leader in optics since 1917, and by the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism and the Islands of the Bahamas. Birding is better in the Bahamas.
One of the first things that strike you when you're birding on Inagua is how different even the common birds look. Right now I'm looking at an osprey, and it's very different to the ospreys that we get in Florida because this osprey is the Caribbean race or Ridgway's race of osprey, and it's got a very, very white head with almost no black line through the eye. And it looks as though these ospreys are slightly bigger in size as well compared to the ospreys that we get in North America. Even the American kestrels on the island